title card. It's a pretty good title card I just flashed at you just then, wasn't it? I made it. You should be impressed. But now, to the news. First, let's start with my product review. As I mentioned before, my opinion is not better than yours, just much more important. So, I would like to introduce you to Ritz Crackers Munchables. Now, I tried these because they were cheap when I bought them. They weren't particularly good. In fact, I would go as far to say as they were gross. They claim to have a pretzel on the outside and the texture of a cracker on the inside. But I would just say they're nasty through and through. They were dusty and they tasted over-flavored, if that makes sense. So, my review of Ritz Munchables is don't eat them. They are gross. And on the February 13th issue of Parade magazine, issued in many local papers across the United States, and read by many, many elderly people, Matthew Perry talked about his new television show, and the title read that he has a new friend. But as you could see in that picture, his new friend was disguised by a mascot outfit. And what I was shocked to find is, inside, that the illustration showed that Matthew Perry's new friend is actually a slightly larger version of himself. That's right, Matthew Perry is friends with Matthew Perry. Good for you, Chandler. In commemoration of this event, I have made this, the Pear-Plane. And see, the Pear-Plane has Matthew Perry on either wing, himself and the slightly larger version. And look at all these people that are flying in it. Leanne Rimes is on there, some Amish dude, El DeBarge. He just got out of rehab, that's fun. And also Heart, because that was the day before Valentine's. Couldn't think of the word Valentine's. Yay, one take! Okay. Now we come to the foreign language portion of the show, where I will now deliver the news in español. El perro no es pequeño. No es fuego. ¿Qué bebe usted? Los gatos leen. El pingüino es triste. That's all for the foreign language portion. Now, on to the series issue at hand, the unrest in the Middle East. As you may know, many of the Middle Eastern dictators that have long been in power have now been overthrown. They no longer are in control of the people, who are now opting for democratic methods and Twitter to run their lives. Well, before you let Facebook folks determine who you like, then you should consider me first, people of the Middle East. I would be a much, much better dictator than them. Your former dictators were apathetic, cruel. They took money from you without even thinking of your needs, of the good of the nation as a whole. If you take Robert Mugabe, for example, he's not a good guy. I don't really know much else besides that, because I don't really watch the news. And when I do, it's usually when I'm waiting for the weather to come on. But I will tell you, once again, I would be a much, much better dictator, because I would have a much, much better type of apathy. No, it's not that I wouldn't care for you. I just wouldn't care about the money. I don't really need it. I only need enough to have a place on the moon and a fancy mansion someplace, probably in Tennessee. I like that place. They have good barbecue. And finally, I have a solution for those of you out there who may or may not be sitcom writers. As you may have noticed, as someone who partakes in a lot of pop culture, like me, people will often take a product such as this, Edge, shaving cream, and try and mark on it or cover up the brand so that it looks like something real, but they don't get sued for copyright infringement. And they also don't have to worry about people think they're doing product placement. So it will be my objective from time to time to offer alternatives to simply marking out the brand altogether. It came to my attention recently that you could modify the brand names to make them say something different, something similar, but also not some nonsense word. I have seen where people have simply marked out the first letter of both words in the name or something like that. It just doesn't work. What you need instead is something like this, where it's an intelligible, coherent word. That is a perfect solution. It is midway between both extremes. Now, this can be achieved by either using, on a can like this where it's black, you could use some electrical tape, just cover up the parts, or do what I did, and painstakingly color on a wet can of shaving cream with a Sharpie until it was blacked out in the places so that it said poop. Well, that's all for me today. Join me next time when my guest will be me, and I will talk to myself about things. Signing off. Excelsior.